Welcome to Retro Ranger. Woo!
Hey, it's Jeff at Retro Ranger. Got an interesting one today. I'm a big fan of the old suitcase portable computers. This is a real special one, Zorba. Date code 83. This was when it got purchased up by Micros. She powers on, I hear her drives going, I got nothing going on in the display. All we have here is power and contrast. I've tried turning it all the way up, not getting anything at all. We're gonna start taking it apart and see what we've got inside. All right, this is precarious. First time taking it apart, we're gonna see how this goes. There's a handle underneath. You can't position this thing nicely to open her up, but let's try taking off the front faceplate first. Looks like we've got 6 screws in the front. There's some screws on the outside of the shell. The shell's one molded piece. It looks like it's got a few screws in the front holding the computer in, and then a couple in the back that I assume are also holding this one in. Can't remember if I said this has got a build date of 1983. Went out of business. Okay, cool. We've got reset circuit and then a reset switch here. All right, I think next we need to work on taking out the screws that are holding this frame in. Let's pivot her. And we'll get these 3 screws out. And then we'll go from there. No idea if I've got a serious CRT issue or what, but we do have life on the computer. Be real cautious and safe when we're working with the CRT on this. They contain a lot of high voltages that are very dangerous. This is interesting. Look at, I don't know if this shows up on the camera. These back screws have been taken out though, because it had one that was the bigger ring around the front. You can see that these are different, and you can see where the ring of them was at one time. Let's take that out. Have to see in the restoration process if we can find some of the original, something handles. The leather's okay, and I can restore that. We got some rust on the handle that we're going to need to address. And flip her over to the top. We can get these last 3 out. They're holding the frame in. And then we will see what we have inside. It feels like there's something holding on. All right, I found out what the problem was. 2 hidden screws under the handle, which makes it nice for replacing the handle and servicing the handle as well. I thought the handle was riveted in and didn't realize it was removable. Now we should be in like Flynn. Now we're cooking with gas. Neato. Floppy drives, Canon. Both Canons. Super clean. The next thing to do is, we'll get our meter, we'll check our rails, 5 and 12 volt. We'll see how our power supply is doing. This is our wire harness going to the motherboard. Then we've got the 2 going to the floppy drives. Curious, if I unplug floppy drives and I've got this through an isolation transformer. Oddly enough, the plug is way up in the front. Make sure it's off. I just want to see what we see. We get our nice beep, we're posting. And we could have something as simple as just, old bad capacitors. It's very difficult for me to see right at the moment without tearing it apart more. We still have zero display though. And it feels like I got a voltage problem though. I do not feel anything. I don't feel any static. I could get my sound meter that I can pick up the frequency off of her. But, the other thing that might be interesting to see real quick too is, we'll pause. I'm going to go get a monitor because this has a composite. Let's hook that up right now. Should have a cable back behind it, I bet. Yep. All right. Let's see if we see any life out of this at all by hooking up video to the composite on her. See if we get anything. All right, display on. I think my source is set already. What do we got on source? VGA, nope. Can't remember if I've got it plugged into 1 or 2. Well, that's 2. What about 1? I got nothing. I'm surprised I didn't get any signal. Pretty sure I'm AV1 or AV2. I'm just getting nothing though. I'm surprised we're not getting any video out at all on that. The next thing to do is let's disassemble. No, disassemble. I can probably get to the rails and definitely test our voltages here and see what we've got on these Molex connectors and check the power going into the motherboard. I don't think that initially doesn't feel like it's an issue because I'm posting, fan spinning, things like that. But let's go through the basics. Let's check that out. Obviously the switch is okay. We're okay there. I don't think the PSU is probably an issue. Then it's either our board driving the video or we've got a motherboard issue. But I'll do a quick check on those and we'll come back and we'll regroup as to next steps. We'll have to safely discharge the CRT. It's tough to get into all this stuff here, but we will figure out how to get to it and we will go from there. I'm back. I wanted to catch you up on what I've been kind of dorking with. I was looking at a little bit of the schematics and trying to understand a little bit better about what we've got going on. What we had happening is it's posting, fans running, drives are going, no video, right? And I started doing some diagnostics on it. This particular model, second revision, second company that owned the Zorba brand, came out with a composite video out, has a second daughter board. No video on that either, right? We're getting no video on any of it. Obviously the main video driver has got a problem. Did some probing with my new bench power supply, which I'm really digging. I also love my handheld. I love gadgets. Anyway, checked out the 5 and 12 rails and everything. Voltage-wise, everything's looking great. Then I started looking at the P4. It's where the power is coming into the motherboard, as well as video signals. And we've got horizontal and vertical. And in fact, it mentions here 13, 15, and 16 are ones to check. Okay, great. Get my new oscilloscope. I had a Tektronix, and the guy was selling a bunch of his equipment. I just picked this up. I'm still learning the dials and stuff like that. 4-channel, freaking awesome. Specs, I love my Tektronix, and I really had muscle memory on that one. This one's taking me some time. Regardless, almost all the specs on this were better. Some were the same. Almost all the specs, though, that matter were better, in addition to get 4-channel on this. Super, super excited. I need to read about it and update the firmware and some other fun things. We'll do that together maybe on that process, because this is a really neat piece of oscilloscope hardware. Anyway, I digress. Started looking at P4, looking at the video signals. Really flippin' weird. And I could dial it in where I could get some nice waves, and they were roughly in range. But let me show you. I'm going to go down on the floor because basically I've got the plug in here and I need to get underneath. It's not the best way to go about probing for that. And I did start probing originally with the harness completely out and just going straight to the pins, but that's not the best way to test on this. The best way is actually touching this little connector. I'll try doing that first and see if we can get it. Let's get her powered up. Got the probe on a nice ground. I used my continuity on the bench power supply to test that I had a good ground. We've got dirty, noisy signal at the moment here. That's not uncommon for what I'm doing right at the moment. And as soon as I connect it, this is 13. I can't remember if that's vertical or horizontal. It goes nuts. Let's see, 15, same thing. That's not good. Let's power it off. And let me show you some things. And I'll show you what I'm leaning towards, and we're going to test it out, and we're going to see what we get. I'm going to pull this out. Too much for the down overhead view right at the moment. We're going to kind of look like this. This is the daughter board for the composite video. We have this Intel chip here, and the silk screen is really nice. It says, gotta turn it the right side. I'll flip it around on the camera. Dork. CRT controller right here. And this is an IBM L3169548 Intel 1976. That's right here, and it says CRT controller. What I did was I started checking the path from here down to the controller, started pulling up the schematics and doing some basic checking. First, I suspected the cap maybe was bad. I did some tests with the multimeter and the oscilloscope. Then I desoldered one leg and even did a full ESR test on it. It seems fine. I'm like, okay, look through the rest of the board. I didn't see any other caps that might be in the area, the path of the video signal. That appeared suspect. I did some checking on all of those. A lot of painstaking, just kind of checking things. I did a lot of just trace checking as well in a continuity mode, just to make sure that there wasn't a broken trace. There's no cap damage on this thing. I don't understand it. The board is honestly spotless. I have an ultrasonic bath that I'll throw things in. No need. No need at all. Next, I removed the CRT controller, little deoxit in it, plopped it back in, same flipping thing. Here's what we're going to try. I have by the way, my anti-static is on my foot, and I only have shorts on. I'm not going to show you the anti-static. But anyways, I have it run to the ground in the floor and into a power strip that hooks up to the earth ground. I don't like having them on my hands, and my feet are always bare. Anyways, that's where it is in case somebody asks, what the heck are you doing? There's a little dirt in here. I'll go through and do a little clean out at some point. But I think the chip's bad. And guess what? Guess who do you think has a second Zorro? Mwah. Using just a pry tool, go in on right next to the leads, twist, twist, light twists, right? I'm going to flip it around. You're not going to be able to see now. And I'm going to go in on the other side, and I'm going to do light twists. Before I pull out the chips, I usually hit them with a little deoxit as well, just to kind of loosen it up there also. I got my hand on it to control so it doesn't fling out, because that can cause some bent pins too. And we don't want that. All right, chips out. Chip from Zorba number 2. This is actually from an earlier model Zorba, but they were using the same Intel line of chips. All right, so I'm just checking, making sure I'm all seated. All right, we're in. Set that there, and let's get her put back in and see what happens. This one's a pain in the butt to get in. I've got to go in at a bit of an angle to get past the keyboard connector around a cap. You don't want to push too hard on the cap. We are going to hook up the power switch. Yo, Mr. Power Switch. All right. Because we kind of need that. And we're going to slide her in. I've got my anti-static mat. She's nicely protected. I am not going to push these all the way down for right now, because they're a pain in the backside to get out. And why don't you want to go on? Okay, we'll do you first. Do you second. Really make sure you don't slide over one pin. That's a bad day. That is a bad day. Okay, I don't have the fan connected. I don't have floppies connected. I just have that baby in. I'm just making sure I didn't leave any leads, any hunk of metal lying around, stuff like that. I can't really see what's going on. I'm going to carefully turn her around till we got a good angle. Being very careful what I touch. And let's make sure I don't have it setting on anything. Okay. Odd placement for the power. The first revision, this wasn't even removable. It was just built in. And I was like, oh, real pain in the butt. Okay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we post. I'm going to crank up the video all the way. Who's your daddy? Nice. Zorba, Modular Micro Inc. That was the second company that purchased the Zorba brand. Insert disk into A and hit return. I'm a happy boy. Now I need to get on the old interweb and see about buying some chips. I'm pretty sure I've seen these listed at least on the old eBay and maybe some other areas. But the IBM chip, this baby has gone bad somewhere, somehow. Looks like I need to use my pin straightener on just a little bit there. But she's dead, Jim. Don't know what happened. Screen looks beautiful. I don't know how it looks to you all, but it is nice and crisp and clean. I don't see a lot of junk inside. And the rheostat seems quite nice. It's got a good, I'm not feeling it catch anything or any jumps or stuff like that. I am totally stoked. I am a happy boy. Turned out just to be the chip. Nice thing about it too was on this Zorba is that so many of the stuff was socketed. It was really a nice machine. I've got a video coming up on the history of the Zorba, and if you happen to be in VCF Midwest in Chicago in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking about one of these babies and CPM and kind of the rise and fall of both and how they kind of combine together. The Zorba was a neat machine because CPM was, although universal, file formats were totally different from one machine to the other. This girl, though, could read most all the formats. She was a universal wonder kid. Anyway, I'm going to put her back together. I'm going to get chip ordered. Dogs and cats are sleeping together. Life is good around here. Thanks for watching. Remember, you don't have to live it to learn it. And woo, we're out of here. All right, y'all. Have a good night.